Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sebastian, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. Well, Stephen A. Smith is at it again, folks. He is at it again, and so this is what we're going to talk about today. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video, sub to the channel. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. My handle is CTABANZ. So let's get into it. So we've been roasting and toasting Stephen A. Smith all throughout this week, and I've been loving it. Right, I've been loving it. People have been loving it. I said, well, let's just keep the damn thing rolling. Right, let's keep the damn thing rolling. We're going to take a page out of everybody else's book who's deciding to dibble and dabble a little bit into some political commentary. We're not the first. We won't be the last. There are a lot of the other guys out there like Dan Le Batard, Jason Whitlock. There's a whole bunch of other people out there. So we're not breaking any ground here. Stephen A. Smith himself. Right. So anyway, I made my thoughts clear on some of the things that Stephen A. Smith said about Jasmine Crockett. I said, look, man, it's fine to have your opinion. It's fine to not like the way that the way that she conducts herself, but at least call it down the line. Then call out everybody. If you're so concerned about how people speak and all of that, then call out the way everybody speaks. But you didn't decide to do that. You wanted to only call out one side while labeling yourself an independent, and I thought that was absolutely absurd. But anyway, that's not the point of today's show here. So recently, Stephen A. Smith went on a News Nation's panel with Chris Coumo, and they were talking about a plethora of things, right? A bunch of things on the panel. I don't know where exactly this show was held. It was a News Nation's town hall. They didn't specify the location of it. But anyway, Stephen A. Smith was there along with some other political commentators as well. So he was on there, and then they reached the part where I guess they had some congressmen or senators. I don't know, because they didn't explicitly say this in this clip, but they were talking about the government shutdown. And in typical Stephen A. Smith fashion, he had to turn the thing into one big spectacle. So while he was giving his point, at the end of it all, he decided, you know what, to add a little bit more oomph to what I'm saying. Let me just storm off the stage and then come back later like as if we on the set of First Take. For those of you who didn't hear what Stephen A. Smith had to say, I want to play it for you now, and I'm going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say there.
Stephen, are you going to say something?
I just want to say.
There it is.
I'm trying to be very respectful to everybody because they deserve it.
Why?
Let me say that. No, because you deserve it. But let me say this. I don't think Washington understands how ticked off we truly are. Think about the conversation that we're having right now. You brought up the single-payer system, emulating Canada. You know, we're looking at a president that just gave $20 billion to Argentina. Mm-hmm. We're hearing about or witnessing what I consider to be a retribution tour. And even though to some degree I don't blame him because of how people went after him, still it appears to be counterproductive. We're listening to this kind of stuff while a young man walked up to the microphone and said that he had to leave here to go and work on DoorDash to help pay for his daughter's tuition. Meanwhile, everybody up here getting paid. But he ain't.
This is this kind of stuff right here. That's how you know, and I'm not accusing any of you directly or personally of feeling this way. I'm just talking about the apparatus that is Washington, the nation's capital. This is why you have so many Americans, excuse my language, so pissed off at Washington, because somehow, some way you get to have these conversations, engage in specific elements of it to talk about what we need to do to get things better. Our debt is $37.8 trillion. Somehow, some way, the taxpayer's been paying this, been throwing money, because we all look at our check, and it's been going to the government. And somehow, some way, you're supposed to be doing something constructive and productive enough to make sure that we don't have that kind of deficit. It isn't happening. A government shutdown is going on right now. A man has to work on DoorDash when he's really an air traffic controller that we applauded. And we're up here talking about how much some money is going to cost. And the only person that don't have a check coming is him. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a break.
So that's what he had to say. Then later on, New York Times wrote an article on this. They said this: Stephen A. Smith storms off stage after fiery rant during News Nation's town hall. This website is littered with ads. Like you can't even read their damn website. Anyway, it says ESPN personality Stephen A. Smith stormed off stage during a News Nation town hall on Wednesday after an air traffic controller told panelists he has a side gig as a delivery guy to pay his child's tuition amid the government shutdown. Now, the guy himself said, I'm an air traffic controller for the Federal Aviation Administration. I've been there for 16 years. I've also been through the Obama shutdown and the Trump shutdown in the previous. And then the audience went on to say a few other things. And then Stephen A. and he said, my question is, under the current political climate, do you think this shutdown could actually be longer than the previous shutdown? I'm actually driving DoorDash when I go off from work just to make sure I can pay for my daughter's tuition. The guy's name's Chris. He continued, and then Stephen A. Smith gave his rebuttal. So that's the New York Times covering it there. So you heard what he had to say. Look, here are my thoughts about this, and I wanted to be fair to him. They were talking about the government shutdown, right? That's what they were talking about. But here's my thing. Instead of all of these antics and the spectacle of it all and putting on a show and putting on a performance, it would have been good if we got into some substantive aspects of this conversation. I would have liked to hear Stephen A. Smith say, look, these are the things that I would have done to ensure that we as a nation wouldn't find ourselves at a political impasse. Because right now the Republicans and the Democrats cannot agree. And the Republicans are going to need a majority of votes to get whatever bill that they want passed. And the Democrats are not budging. So there's so much polarization in the political climate. There's so much polarization in the government. And I think it would have been a good time for Stephen A. Smith to educate the audience members and kind of let them know how we got here. I would have liked for him to go through some of the policies that various candidates had, like Kamala Harris and President Trump, that are forming some of the things that you're seeing now. So therefore, if you as a voter, for instance, if you voted for Trump, then you wouldn't be disgruntled at this particular time. I would have asked him, who did you vote for? The guy would have said, I voted for so-and-so person. Well, based off of what you voted for, you shouldn't be really surprised at what you're getting right now. These are the things that they wanted. This is what the opposition wants instead. I want to quickly read from a BBC article here. It says, what would Harris and Trump do in power? It's an old article. It was published on November the 4th. So let me just go through some key issues here that this article entailed at the time. It says inflation. Harris said her day one priority would be to try to reduce food and housing costs for working families. She promises to balance price gouging on groceries, help first-time home buyers, increase housing supply, and raise the minimum wage. Let's read what the president, Donald Trump, would have done. He says, Trump has promised to end inflation and make America affordable again. And when asked, he says more drilling for oil will lower energy costs. He promised to deliver lower interest rates, something the president does not control, and he says deporting undocumented immigrants will ease pressure on housing. And then he said that. So that's on inflation. Let's get to taxes, right? A major issue here. Harris wanted to raise taxes on big businesses and Americans making over $400,000 a year. But she also unveiled a number of measures that would ease the tax burden on families, including an expansion of child tax credits. She has broken with Biden over capital gains, supporting a more moderate rise from 23.6% to 28% compared to his 44.6%. Trump proposes a number of tax cuts worth trillions, including an extension of his 2017 cuts, which most likely help the wealthy. Then you can go to abortion. You could have gone to immigration. We can go all the way down to trade. Let's talk about trade. Harris has criticized Trump's sweeping plan to impose tariffs on imports, calling it a national tax on working families, which will cost each household $4,000 a year. Trump has made tariffs a central campaign pledge in order to protect the U.S. industry. He has proposed the new 10 to 20% tariff on most imported foreign goods and much higher ones on those coming from China. He has also promised to entice companies to stay in the United States to manufacture goods by giving them a lower tax, a corporate tax rate. I think at the time that tax rate was about 15%. I think that's what the president was proposing at the candidate Trump, now president, whatever. And let's get to the final one, healthcare. He says Harris has been part of the White House administration, which has reduced prescription drugs costs and capped insulin prices at $35. Trump, who often vowed to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, has said that if elected, he would only improve it without offering specifics. And then it went on and on and on and on and on and on. I would have liked for Stephen A. Smith to get into some substance. And then and then deliver the final blow and say, hey, look, for example, this and this is what I would have done. I would have done so thing to ensure that we don't find ourselves in a situation like this. Now we're currently in a government shutdown. Here's some of the things that I would do. I would go talk to the Democrats and say X, Y, and Z. I would go over to the Republicans, X, Y, and Z. Where can we find a middle? These are the things. I don't just want this performative speech. I want some substance. I would have really got into the weeds of it all. But now it's all about the clicks. It's all about the views. It's all about being quoted. It's all about going viral. And that moment went viral. Out of all of what you heard, did you hear anything of substance? What he said is what we already know. These people in the government, they're not serious. We all knew this already. This isn't the first time the Republicans and the Democrats have disagreed on issues, and it won't be the last time. It won't be the last. Why do you think they came up with the filibuster? Why? Why do you think? So to me, man, look, I guess it's what people love. And the people up there clapping and all of that. Okay, yeah, I clapped. I don't like it. What's the solution? What do you have in place? What are your thoughts? What are your recommendations? My God. And I'm not saying I have all the answers, because I don't fashion myself as some type of political voice. I'm just reacting to the news and giving you the very little knowledge that I have. I'm still very much a student. I'm still very much learning. This is my take on it. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We'll catch you guys on the next show. Peace.